Hello everyone. Today I will be explaining you about the structure of male and female gamete in plants from the chapter Pollination and Fertilization. Now you all know that in flowering plant the pollen grains are produced by anthers of a flower, and these ovules are also produced by the female part, that is called ovary. So in order to understand fertilization in plants, it's very important to understand the structure of male gamete, that is pollen grain, and female gamete, that is ovule. A mature pollen grain has two membranes. The outer membrane is called the exine and the inner membrane is called the entine. So, mature pollen grain has two membranes, exine and entine. Since it is a cell, it also contains nucleus. The nucleus of pollen grain has already divided into a generative nucleus. So, two nuclei have been formed from one single nucleus. One is the tube nucleus and the other is a generative nucleus. So one nucleus has divided into two nuclei. One is tube nucleus and the other is generative nucleus. And there is a germ pore from where later on this pollen tube will arise. So this will start germinating. This pollen tube will start germinating from a place called germ pore. After some time, now when this pollen grain will be deposited on the top of stigma and on the female part of flower, then it will start germinating. That means a pollen tube will arise from germ pore. Now these two nuclei, they will come to the tip of the pollen tube. So tube nucleus is towards the tip and followed by generative nucleus. So this is pollen tube. Next, what changes they take place in pollen tube? That this generative nucleus, again it divides into two, forming two sperm nuclei. So now in pollen tube, there are three nuclei in all. They are not separated by any wall. So these three nuclei have been formed. Towards the tip is the tube nucleus and behind it are two sperm nuclei which have been formed by generative nucleus. So this is all about the structure of mature pollen grain and germination of pollen tube. Now see, inside the ovary there is an ovule. There may be one ovule or there may be many ovules. This is the structure of ovule. Each ovule is surrounded by two or three membranes. These are called integuments. So each ovule is surrounded by two or three membranes. These are called integuments. These integuments, they leave a place for pollen tube. This pollen tube will be entering inside the ovule during the process of fertilization. So there is a place. This place is called micropyle, a small gap for this pollen tube to enter inside the embryo sac. This is called micropyle. Now outside, in between these two integuments or three integuments, there is a food laden mass. Means there is food for the embryo present. This is called a nucellus. Inside this nucellus is the embryo sac. Inside embryo sac, there are 7 cells. 3 cells towards the north pole, they are called antipodal cells. 3 cells are called antipodal cells. 3 are towards the micropylar end. Out of them, one is called the egg cell and the other is called the synergid. And then there is central cell. This is central cell. In the central cell, there are 2 polar nuclei. So, in all, there are 7 cells. 3 antipodal cells, 1 egg cell 1 synergid and 2 polar nuclei. This is all about a mature ovule. In my next video, I will be explaining you about double fertilization, how double fertilization takes place in plants. Thank you.